I have been covering the protests down in Epping, is obviously where it kicked off, where we had the this Ethiopian asylum seeker who was then, I believe he was charged with the sexual assault of a 14-year-old schoolgirl in the middle of Epping, and then after that it started spiraling across to the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf. I've been to Norwich as well, Waterlooville, just north of Portsmouth. Where was I? I was at Stanwell on last Thursday, which is near Heathrow, Staines, West London Way, and of course even further afield across the country, places I haven't been to: Wilmslow in Manchester, Ashfield in Nottinghamshire, Southampton as well, and there's even more protests planned for just this Friday. There's a national protest day on Friday, August the 8th. There's Aldershot as well, back to and some of these other locations, and they're all pretty much focused on the asylum hotels, and a lot of them have then been triggered because of basically just of sexual assaults done by the migrants, as we just saw on what's today, Tuesday, I think it was either Saturday or Sunday, when it came out in Nuneaton that 2 Afghan men had been charged with the rape of a 12-year-old girl. So I believe there's going to be a protest there on Saturday, and I'm going to be turning up to that. And I think we just heard about another one it was Wilmslow in Manchester, I think just yesterday, where there had been somebody charged, an asylum seeker charged with an attempted kidnapping of a 10-year-old. And these cases, it's insane. It's literally every single day, and it seems like we've just seen one. Over the past few weeks for sure, but these stories have been popping up really sort of since the Boris wave happened, and of course now. Sorry, excuse me. We bring in the Afghans as part of the Afghan resettlement scheme. They're just being put all across the country either in hotels or in private accommodation, which was the case of the Nuneaton charges. And people are just fed up with it. And as you can see, I've obviously been on the ground, so I think we'll be seeing some of the footage of that.
Yes, we are. Just let me know when you want to move on to the next one, and I can keep moving it along for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you've been at a lot of these protests, haven't you? And you've been responsible for a lot of the original footage that we've had coming out.
Well done. Thank you for that. You're doing great work, sterling work. It's really important. It's genuinely important. So thank you for it, and keep it up.
Yeah, I will shout out a few of my other friends who've been on the ground. Emma Dunwell from He Speaks Freely, Will Coleshill from Resistance GB, loads of Wesley Winter, the independent YouTuber. There's been a bunch of people who I've constantly seen at these protests, and also getting out the right footage. Yeah. And Wesley, for example, he was intimidated last Sunday at Epping, by one of the sort of Antifa stand up to racism thugs who's been caught on camera. I think he intimidated like Count Dankula and Tim Pool years ago as well, right on the streets of Westminster.
I don't know if Dankula could ever be intimidated.
Well, attempted to be intimidated.
I was going to say, good luck.
I should say, yeah.
Did he used to be a bouncer? Good luck with that.
Yeah. So we'll pull up. So this was from Stanwell on Thursday, and obviously what's funny about this is that this was almost exactly 2 weeks after their. Yeah, we'll pull up the watch some of this. So this was a little bit later into the evening, where they really got right up close to the asylum hotel, and they started just chucking beer cans at it, basically. And I think one of the other clips as well, I believe would be the next one on here. Place it with that. This was just before that, where they went right up the hotel, and I'll leave the audio on for this one actually.
Okay. We'll just have to listen to it.
Yeah.
Our British police force protecting the kids. Protect our kids. Save our community. Look at our watch man standing up and fucking ruling. Look at what? Does that make you feel good? Does that make you feel good?
Just they're just shitting their pants. I tell you, it's come to this though, hasn't it? Because for a few years before now, if a normal person just wanted to go up and go into one of these hotels and just ask what's going on, you're often they just stonewall you, or actually they've got bouncers or bodyguards that tell you to leave. You're not allowed to come in and ask a question.
Yeah, and I even
So
saw...
so that hard baked into that eventually is something like this.
Yeah, and I said even actually one of the guys that goes in, one of the sort of auditors who's got been in the hotels, I believe it was last month or a couple of months ago when he went in. One of the security guards just like threw hot coffee on him, and the police were there and they literally just did nothing about it. So obviously again, something like this, it was inevitable. But as you can see here, so this obviously they were able to get quite close to the Asylum Hotel because this one popped up. I think it was literally like the night or 2 nights before, this was announced. And this was, also 2 weeks post almost to the day of the first Epping protests. So there was no stand-up to racism, no Antifa there. This was a very small community group. I actually got messaged by a few of them telling me to come down and report on it. And literally just me and another person, AY Audits, who was there covering it. So everyone who had the footage from there, it was basically from like one of us two, and from mostly me. There were no other reporters there. But yeah, as you can see on this one, they're able to get right up close to the hotel because there was no, unlike in the Bell Hotel in Epping, the Britannia Hotel, there's no, ring of steel to protect it, so people could just go right up and start banging and shouting on the windows.
Yeah, that's quite remarkable, especially when you saw the Epping protest and how just as metal fences all the way around it, and vans and vans and vans of policemen.
Oh, absolutely tons of them. I remember somebody said on Twitter over the past few weeks, they said that this is almost a deliberate point for the police because they cannot they can't police and control sexual assaults, robberies, muggings, burglaries, so much crime they can't do. So what they will do is they'll show up in force to something like this so that they can pretend that they still actually have a well-funded, easy to respond force to these sort of things. So a lot of it, I will say, is propaganda and for show. It's like, wow, here's a billion police all with riot shields able to turn up in a heartbeat, and then you find out they've drafted them all away from all other places in the country. Yeah, I think there were like Northumbrian police at one of the Epping protests that I attended. They've dragged them in from all over the place just to have those numbers.
So, and then this here, that there was day Saturday.
A couple of days after Saturday.
Yes. So you had that one that you just sort of showed us, Stanwell, on Thursday, and then different place, different protest, different hotel on the Saturday as well. So what was happening in Thistle City?
So this was, there were 2 protests. Well, actually, technically there were 3 protests here. One, they'd been coordinated to have Stand Up for Racism, which had just done a protest 6 days ago in Epping, mobilised to get people out there. And they did the same again here. So they started at 12:30, or meant to be just outside the Thistle City Migrant Hotel, which is the one that the police had cracked down on illegal delivery riders at just the previous month, so start of July. So there was a small anti-asylum hotel protest just around the corner that started at 1:30. The stand-up to racism protest started at 12:30, I believe. Diane Abbott was there, Narinder Kaur, loads of people in central London who haven't turned out to other stuff, all turned out for this. And I think actually they mobilised more people by flyering it at Friday prayers at the mosque, the local Islington Mosque.
Oh, really?
Before. So we're able to get some more people out for that way. Not exactly, an organic crowd, the stand-up to racism lot.
No.
But the other people that turned up here were Antifa as well. They did not have the planning, the police permission to do the protest there, so they were right in the middle of the crossroads, and then it got a little bit tasty. So this footage here, we have a woman who came in with a Union Jack and a masked man wearing an England t-shirt going up to the Antifa. So this is not the stand-up to racism crowd, this is the masked Antifa in the middle of the crossroads there.
Refugees ain't welcome!
I'll just turn it down because you never know when they're going to throw out something too vulgar for YouTube.
Yes. That certainly sounds about right. But yeah, so the police then obviously immediately surrounded these two. I don't know if they came from the other protests or they just went straight there. What's interesting? I've just been in touch actually recently with the guy in the England shirt there, who's then trying to get his story out, claiming that the arrest wasn't exactly legal and so on. I believe she was interviewed just by Ben Leo from GB News at the time, who's just right around the corner there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was obviously actually, if you skip forward slightly in the footage, you'll be able to see him getting bundled away. Pulling a little bit further
Barbican
forward.
in London.
Yeah. So so right near there basically. There you go. Him just getting arrested straight away and actually taken to the police stations. He's not doing the classic thing of, arrested for breach of the peace.
They've got enough guys.
Away. Yeah.
It's like a dozen cops to arrest that one fella.
Well, said it's all completely the show of force of the entire thing. And again, he was actually taken to the police station and held now out on bail rather than being arrested and de-arrested and just moved away, as you usually do when protesters and counter-protesters get too close to each other. So I'll see here so this is the state of the stand up to racism lot. Who you can tell are
the state of them's never particularly good.
No, all middle class, lovey, white liberal types. This is something that a colleague of mine, freelance reporter, has been covering it for Unheard. Jack, I can't remember his surname. But he noted, quite rightfully so, as I have, that the stand-up to racism protests are very middle class, whereas the anti-asylum protests are very working class.
Sure.
And these people will not live exactly right around the corner, whereas those protesting the hotels, who are the working class, salt of the earth, English people, they will literally live. I've literally met someone in the Britannia Hotel who lives in the building opposite. These people will come from wherever else in Islington, where they don't have to suffer from the threat of these people being in their backyards.
Stand up to racism may as well be stand up for sex criminals.
Yeah, stand up for rapists, I like to call them.
Yeah. Revolting, absolutely revolting. What do they think they're doing? What do they think they're doing? Whether they're brainwashed or they actually are in favour of more sex criminals. What the hell? It's madness to me. It's madness.
Actually, I don't really need to play one because you can just see from the preview there just how pasty white they all are, and probably need to do less avocado toast eating.
The reinforcements from Islington Mosque hadn't quite turned up yet.
Yes. But on the next clip here, this is what happens when the police actually started. They'll go into the Antifa crowd to try and arrest a couple of people, and then this then is the result where it got quite tasty. Just and of course all of the
in the background,
and all of the press trying to get as best footage as everybody else could.
Oh, the brave Antifa boys! It's the new Cable Street.
Yeah.
They're heroes. They're on the right side of history.
Yeah, you can see there's one officer there just having been dragged by about the scruff of his neck by his colleague, hat knocked off, clearly. And what's funny about this is really, especially if they knew that Antifa were going to turn up. Now, it wasn't permitted, but, there had been flyers around. It was pretty obvious that these people were going to be there. Where is the riot police? Where is the guys with the truncheons and the bats and the full gear, ready to completely beat these guys senseless if they need to, and clearly that has been the reaction from Antifa. It's extremely violent ones, literally now locking arms, holding against the police here. Whereas I've seen so many riot squads turn up to the anti-asylum protests, and yet nothing's visible over this way.
Or the mounted police on the big horses with the giant nightsticks stuff. None of that.
No, they're all just little indicators, aren't they? It's just the little things all mounting together to just visibly show you which side the establishment is there to serve, which side the law is there to protect. And
because ideally you'd kettle everyone there.
Yep.
Arrest all of those.
especially because they were part of, a protest that did not have permission to be there as well.
What I mean, yeah.
It obviously all just adds to it. But then this was Sunday. So what happened here now? The Britannia Hotel had been quite regularly protested. And obviously, one of the clips I believe was played on here previously was the Green councillor who was shouted at and called a certain word. Yeah, and that also was mine that went, mega viral. So the Britannia Hotel has been relatively more constant. That first week there were people there every night, and there have been people watching, which is why actually we got, I believe it was on like Thursday night, Friday morning at 1:33 in the morning when they bust in the first coachload of migrants.
Oh yeah, so I remember seeing that video.
Yeah, so they have been now confirmed they're there. So the Britannia guys obviously doing quite a regular, protest. Same with like the guys over at Epping. They changed it up a little bit on Sunday, and the community organised together a women's and children's march. So what we'll have here footage of now, we'll want to hear the first audio for this, so don't play it immediately.
Sure.
Is their incredible chants where they're going from the Jubilee tube station in Canary Wharf round the corner to the Britannia Hotel, and this is literally just women and kids in the march. They told everyone there was a second protest scheduled for 3 p.m, which we'll see more of that in a few clips later. But this is literally women and children dressed in pink marching against illegal migration and asylum seekers. So we'll play the clip. And yeah, that's been the sentiment, the boats have to stop. And that in chance, as you can just see, so many, like at least 200 to 300 maybe, women and kids all dressed in pink, marching against mass migration, singing traditionally London tunes, the Union Jacks, the England flags flying. This is the evil Nazi far right,
Yeah, well, and what's more as well, one of the things that I appreciated was on the banner where they were saying, not far right, but not far wrong. Just to mock the label. Mock the label, just entirely, we're at the point now where it's wonderful to see that it's filtered down to just wonderful patriotic normies, that they don't need to be frightened of what they're going to call you anymore. You are right. You hold every morally correct card in this argument, right? And you can see it. You can see the confidence, just the boldness on the street. It's wonderful. You
can only imagine people in government, in the cabinet. These are their enemies. Somebody like Emily Thornberry be aghast by seeing such a thing. Somebody like Lisa Nandy. This is the sort of thing that does need to be stamped out as far as they're concerned.
It's what keeps them awake at night.
Yeah.
And so, as we'll just see in some of these next clips, so the women and children, they didn't just march there. They actually, surprisingly, they've resisted the police orders. So these ones we can play without audio, but they literally got to the Britannia Hotel, started doing the stuff. Now the police, started telling them, like everyone, can you stay on the pavement just behind there? Where they would want them stretched out and moved slightly away from the front of the hotel. And the ladies said, we're not having that. And they decided, right, in the middle of the road, we're sitting down. Good luck moving us, officers. Again, I just can't, think of the optics of police, 6 foot guys, bearded mustaches or whatever. Then bundling them away into police vans, handcuffs behind. Again, all dressed in pink. The headlines on every single paper it would be so hard to deny that you're just shutting down these protests because it's terrible for them to see.
You could see the cop there even sort of smiling, really.
Yes.
But yeah, like written on their flags, "Save our kids, save our women."
Couldn't ask for purer messaging.
Yeah.
Just purer sentiment.
Yeah, and then if you go to the next one, so this is more when the police started going through the crowd individually, talking to them, being like, "Guys, can you please move?" We'll just see here in this clip. Again, I don't necessarily need the audio for this one, where the officers are just gently trying to persuade them that everything's fine. So this officer's, here saying to these two ladies, going, "Oh well, it's all about your safety. It's like, see, like you guys are in the middle of the road. Come on now." And she's responding, "Well, I'm pretty sure that the cars can see us, and also I can look after my own personal safety. Thank you very much, officer. I do appreciate the concern, but I'm going to be staying here for a little bit." And this is that kind of cheeky response to them, where obviously it's kind of hard for them to stop smiling. So I just went through the crowd, and you can see multiple officers talking to them. They were at first threatened with arrest if they didn't move. But I think the police worked out that there's basically no chance that they were going to get them off the road. At one point,
not only is there no chance, but there's no threat.
Yeah.
There's no threat towards anyone here.
At one point, they were going to move because an ambulance was coming down the way, and so they all immediately started to get up, and then the ambulance went another direction, so they sat straight back down again. So, so unlike Just Up Oil or whoever, if there was actually a legitimate emergency need to clear the road, they were like, "Yeah, great, cool, we'll move out the way," and then we're going to sit back down. But there was actually no need for them to finish it off there.
Was this on a weekend day?
Sunday.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I worked in Canary Wharf for a few years, and Canary Wharf is a ghost town on weekends. There's hardly any residents in Canary Wharf. It's all office buildings, nearly. And so, on a Saturday or a Sunday, there's nothing going on, really. So it would be fine. It would be fine, honestly. But
yeah. So just after this, I think we'll see in the we'll just this is one I pulled up because it got quite a bit of attention there.
The
conga and the hokey pokey. So yeah, and a bit of a party atmosphere.
And they just don't want to be sexually assaulted.
Literally,
that's what they want.
That's all they want.
Is that much to ask?
Can we stop importing, men from countries that are 22 times more likely to be convicted for sexual assault, please? Yeah. Please? Can we just have that, please? No, says Keir Starmer. Sorry, the rapists must continue to be into your country.
No, says the past 3 governments now. Not even him. Just
everyone of all stripes.
Red, blue. No, you must have these rapists. You must have these unknown illegal foreigners.
They're economic rocket fuel, and also we deserve it for colonisation.
Right. All the rest of it.
Yeah. So just in the next clip here, this is what happens just before 3 o'clock, where the new protest came in. Now, the Telegraph and other people, sort of kind of started to run with, Lee Anderson posted that Antifa had turned up, and then they said, that this protest, this protest had been hijacked by, masked men in balaclavas who came out with England flags and red and white smoke flares. They hadn't hijacked the protest. They were there. This was just as the crossover between the women and children march happened, and as you can in the audio of this, you can hear all the women and children like shouting, with joy that these guys have now turned up. They were there, turned up in balaclavas, masked. A lot of them said, because they had like jobs that they didn't want to be, recognized for. But all that they did, unlike the masked Antifa lot, where they really, fully, grappled with the cops, is that, they basically turned up as a show of force and saying, look, the women and children here have peacefully demonstrated, and we, the men of this community, are also not going to stand for this. So, there was no punches thrown, towards the police. There was no violence, but they got up in their faces. They made a scene and they said, look, this is, we are not going to stand for the rape and sexual assault of our wives, our sisters, our daughters. So it's like, hey, migrants at this hotel, have it. Is kind of the attitude that you could just see in the clip here.
Do you want me to play it?
Oh yeah. So as you can see, so while they are all masked up, like they were just there to come and do that. You know, they weren't there to start fights with the police, unlike they weren't here to start fights with anybody. Unlike in Norwich, for example, where I was a couple of weeks ago, where 3 masked Antifa literally went straight into the anti-asylum crowd and, you know, 2 caused trouble. And they were peacefully ejected. You know, they were sort of pushed out. Again, no punches thrown from the anti-asylum side. Just they were forced out. You know, obviously they were shouted at and called, you know, nonce protectors, etc. But, you know, they were moved back out of the police lines. And now we'll see the police response to these guys turning up with masks and flares.
Okay. Volume's gone on that one anyway.
Yeah.
What? Not sure if they can hear it on the.
Have you got a license for that St George's flare?
Yeah, exactly.
So what caused them to run? Where did all this come from?
The police just started going for them.
Oh, right, okay.
Right at the lines. I heard somebody say, you know, like, mentioned, like, you know, like, you've got pyrotechnics on you. So what happened there is I believe they were just kind of being stopped and searched, sort of. A lot of them then got de-balaclavaed and then were just allowed to join the protest.
Right.
So some were arrested. I think one of them maybe was taken away, but a lot of the guys that you can see there were then had their masks forcibly removed by police and then put back into protest.
Right. Okay.
And then some of them put their masks back on after that. But I think the point of this was for the police to know who these guys were primarily. I believe that was a primary point.
I agree with the point that Morgoth made though a few weeks ago. Actually, that really I don't think the flares are good optics. Just ever generally they give off a sort of paramilitary-esque look to them, and when you see that the way that the women are handling things there, I can understand the concern from the chaps to obviously want to cover your face, given that you know that the law is against you. I mean, to some extent, I'm kind of splitting hairs, you know, trying to aim for perfection, and it's just me, I'm not in the thick of it, but I'm glad that they were, you know, released.
Yeah. But yeah, so just after this is where it started to get a little bit worse. So actually, this was actually we'll play the actually skip one.
All right.
Maybe a one. Yeah. So this is my footage of this. So I'll give you a very quick rundown of what I was told by eyewitnesses. This happened. So this is what I heard from eyewitnesses. The man who's being arrested here allegedly asked a police officer for his badge number from about the same distance me and you are away, Bo. The police then approached him, and then something happened when they got up close. I don't know if he threw a punch or the officer threw a punch, but yeah, the eyewitnesses claim that, you know, he didn't do nothing. But I didn't see it myself. I can't say exactly what happened. All I can see here is the aftermath. And now, one of the eyewitnesses did say, as I said there, that he was kneed in the face during the arrest. And as we're going to see, actually, just maybe quickly back to the last clip. Just as a quick, that's 4 seconds. You'll just see in the kind of bottom left middle of the screen here. There you go. Punches straight on him. That officer right in the middle of the down, fully laying into him. And I'm like, how is that not police brutality? You know,
well, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and weirdly, that one has not got as much attention as some of my other clips here. I don't know if it's the online safety acted in some way, or just, you know, taken down for the algorithm because of, you know, obvious violence. But yeah, so this is the footage I then got of this, where again during this arrest in Midway, you know, there was this little girl who ended up getting basically hit in the face by officers, obviously accidentally, when they were moved away. And at the other side of the road, so just basically back behind me, a bunch of the guys who were in balaclavas, you know, tried to rush towards the police because obviously, like, hey, you know, our friend's getting arrested and seemingly assaulted by the police. So during that, when one of the guys was being held back by the officers, his arm got broken. It was like, I saw it. It was there is I believe there are some images of it online, but it was pretty, like, it was not a nice
right.
it was obviously broken. I saw the blood coming down from it, and he was bundled away in an ambulance after this as well. If you just skip a little bit forward here,
one thing I would say,
moved away.
There's a general debate around whether some people say, I think I've seen Morgoth say in the past, that don't ever turn up to any of these things ever, because you're just simply giving the state what it wants. I don't agree with that take. I think peaceful protest is good and valuable. But one thing I would say is never attempt to arrest. If the police have decided they want to arrest you and there's
nothing.
There's you versus 4 or 5 cops and they're trying to get your arm behind your back to put just let them do it at that point.
Yep.
Never ever resist arrest when they've decided they want to arrest
Terrible
you.
idea. Yeah.
That is sort of that is really stupid. That will never ever work out well for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my little bit of advice.
So you can see, they were just, again, obviously forcefully dragged him down to the vans in order to get arrested and moving away. And you can see a lot of, people who are, press getting up close. Yeah, I saw other press get shoved away by the police. This woman here is just about to be shoved back again. They were very, forceful with anyone who even got too close, even if you identified yourself as press, pretty clearly as I did with my eyes, badge around my neck as I do. Because I will say, having that and the suits going to these things, it basically is a big red signals afterwards going, hey, cops, please don't touch me or whatever. I may agree with these things, but I'm here straight to report on it.
So always turn up to a protest in a suit.
Yes.
A big blue body armour that says press in massive white letters on it.
But yeah, so actually I think one of the last clips here, so this is just after that. Now, obviously there's allegations now. Now, we saw with the Thistle City Hotel, as we saw earlier, that was when, as I mentioned at the start of July, there had been a specific crackdown on illegal workers there, delivering for Deliveroo. And we'd seen, Deliveroo and Uber Eats guys come in and out, and I think in these cases, it's more that they've been delivering to the residents, the guests of the hotel. So what happened here is an Uber Eats guy. I think we just play this one in the background without the audio because it goes on just goes on for a few minutes, and we just have that on as we mentioned this. He's now trying to get away from the hotel after having done his delivery, and everybody else is kind of not happy that he's been feeding the guys that are inside.
Yeah.
And has become complicit in that system. So the footage here basically shows him getting chased off by the mob, and also stopped from leaving at the same time. Just surrounded. People were calling him pedo apologist. All sorts of words. But again, no violence, and that is the main theme of what I've seen here. There's been harassment, there's been intimidation. There is, as we saw in the Samuel clips earlier, beer bottles thrown at the hotel.
Yes,
there has not been in these protests from the anti-asylum side it risen to the level of decking people in the face, smashing glass bottles around them, really going for the police officers, going for the kill. There has been none of that, which is the difference between what happened this year and what happened at Southport and what happened after that. They were trying to burn down migrant hotels. There was police vans set on fire. I saw myself. That was fully, just pure, unadulterated anger. This has been, peaceful anger, just simmering the lid, like the lid of the pot is about to blow off, but it's not. It's still just simmering, still just boiling, but it's not exploded. And at that level, I believe these guys are going to be able to keep the protests going, because I think the thing with anger, as I wrote in my critic article, it's hot. It burns bright, but it burns fast. And that's why Southport, and after that, was only really 6 days, and then a couple sort of days after that. We're already over 2.5 weeks into this so far, and there's no signs of stopping. As I said, Friday, there's going to be more protests across the country. I think there's 12 locations simultaneously at 6 p.m. going so far. Then Nuneaton is going to, there's going to be a protest there on Saturday, and there's more that just keeps constantly popping up. If one community, tires a little bit and, goes down, 2 more are going to pop up to replace it. This is the protest hydra that we're seeing, honestly. And as I mentioned, if they keep it to once or twice a week, maybe once on a weekday after work, and maybe once on a Saturday or Sunday, this can keep going on indefinitely, and it becomes a rallying point for the communities as well. Yeah, we're like, hey, yeah, once or twice a week, we all go out with our neighbors, we stand together against men who are, as Trump would say, bringing crime, they're bringing drugs, they're rapists, they're horrible people, standing against these guys, every week. And with the community, it does bring the community together. I imagine, I don't know how many of these people would have known their neighbors as well as they do now after regularly attending these protests. It does seem to be, ironically, like when everything does look dark, it does create the gel that now binds communities together. It's
been genuinely remarkable over these past few weeks to witness this spreading. To genuinely just see it, and the thing is as well, to just see it spreading so organically, grassroots level organisation from just concerned mums and dads, members of the community.
So on that, there's been a couple different ways it's been organised in terms of either you've had more regularly well-known, sort of organised people have an experience in politics. So Norwich, you've got James Harvey and Sidney Jones, who regularly organised protests, organised like anti-transgender protests previously in the town. Obviously in Epping, you have people like, you have the Homeland guys who are over there who are, involved in bringing some stuff together. But again, in Stanwell and at the Britannia Hotel, these were just, Facebook, WhatsApp groups that were created, at the Britannia. People just saw that this happened. They went down as a live streamer, and then that's how I found about it. I went down, other people went down, and then they just started, literally locals who've never done anything like this before in their life will just start a Facebook group which is like X place says no to Y hotel, and then it'll blow up to like 2,000 community members, and then everyone will just start chipping in, like the Women's and Children's March. That was just something that somebody suggested in the WhatsApp chat like a week ago or so, and then it just, everyone thought, oh, that's a great idea, let's do that, let's bring it in. It's a very flat top on some of these. So some of them have community organizers helping to run things and grab stuff together who have experience of it, but a lot of it is just flat top hierarchy of locals in Facebook groups and WhatsApp chats.
Well, thank you very much for covering it all as well, for giving us all that
great work.
That footage. Thank you. It's really, really invaluable. Thank you.
Who are the men that pick for scraps amongst the ruins at the end of history? You should know, because you encounter them every day. Between the towering buildings of a fallen empire, we find the Fellaheen, the historyless men, who know nothing of the turning of the cosmic wheel and find themselves outside of civilization itself. Cut loose from the great chain of being, they represent the loam into which our dying culture will return. That is, unless we choose to take up the burden once again. This Fellaheen condition is the subject we explore in issue 4 of Islander magazine, on sale while stocks last and available worldwide at shop.lotusseaters.com.